Well, this is it. The last one. We are at the final episode of Season 5. I don't know what's going to happen from here on out, but I'm literally only 2 days away from finishing up my mini-mester, and I need to pack everything up starting tomorrow night as of this recording. So, it's time we wrap this up. After spending 3 years of my college career just reviewing episodes of MLP only on Season 5, I'll try to be as more consistent as I have been with these reviews, though I'm not making any promises since I may start a new Let's Play, but as of what game, I don't know yet. But, with that said, let's jump right into the Cutie Re-Mark Part 2. So, as always, like any season finale, we basically start with a recap.
You and your friends will never form your special Cutie Mark bond. But whatever Starlight did in the past, changed things here. That awful creature we saw. I don't think you'll have to. All cities between creatures standing in the woods must be
Well, I'll give this episode this. It definitely did a great job of taking things, at least giving a future Fluttershy a badass moment. Well, that was surprisingly easy to convince the natives. And we also see Sakura in this future.
Though I think they're not what they appear to be.
Sakura, please, you have to listen.
Beneath this star, no changeling hide, or it reveals the truth in the darkness.
What's it mean?
The meaning is far worse, I see. For it is we who shall read.
I think I can explain.
I'm sure you can. But let's not talk here. Chrysalis and her army will soon draw near.
So basically where we picked up where we left off, basically Twilight and Spike have entered a future where Chrysalis has taken over, whereas in the previous part we saw what it was like when Sombra took over. So Twilight basically goes with the village of, I guess, tribal resistance ponies, and Sakura seems to understand what Twilight...
Chrysalis and her army tried to take over Canterlot, but my friends and I stopped her.
Those friends, as you know them, are not here. But tell me, how all this came to pass?
Starlight Glimmer. Ponies traveled back in time to stop my friends and me from ever coming together.
And it is these friends you have in life that keep Equestria free from strife?
I guess so, but this is the second time I've come back and this world is even worse than the last one.
I would say that's true, but then again, we have in the apocalyptic future where basically a king, who, by the way, has had no lines, and as I basically noticed in the Season 9 premiere, once we get to that episode, but just as a heads up, Sombra will be voiced by the same guy who voiced Demolisher in Transformers Armada and Energon, so I guess I can understand why people think that his voice sucks. But if you can recognize that, just basically think of King Sombra as Demolisher if he decides to strike out on his own. Anyways,
Starlight keeps doing the same thing in the past. How could the present be so different?
Time is a world where the tiniest changes can lead to a cascade of effects downstream.
So basically, it's kind of like the butterfly effect, basically. Even though I have absolutely no ideas on the understanding of time travel, and honestly, Trunks from Dragon Ball Z, especially in DBZ Abridged, has a better explanation to it. Or at least Gohan DBZ Abridged does. But basically, it's the equivalent of one change in the timeline can change something familiar. Alright. So we basically see that as civilizations, as we see stray friends, but it's revealed to be changelings, as well as chrysalids, as they take over the hive.
Time to make a decision, said Cole. Even if what you are saying were true, we'd never surrender to a creature like you!
Another future wasted. So they return to the past again, and we get a somewhat cool epic magic showdown. Only for it to alter the timeline again. Only this time they appear to be in...
Maybe we should figure it out later.
Oh god, the CGI Timberwolves have returned. Honestly, it looks like a pretty cool looking castle to me. And just like that, we now enter a future where if Nightmare Moon basically took over, which kind of makes you wonder if Nightmare Moon being Celestia went to the moon, kind of makes you wonder what Celestia's been doing. Maybe she's just basically having a lone party on the moon or whatever. And we also see...
I don't know any police who would. Barry, you have to listen to me. The future requests your mistake. I don't have to know my name, but I am far too busy to entertain some tourist's ridiculous fantasy.
I'm surprised you guys get any tours considering that the future is pretty much messed up.
I have to get back to the lab so I can stop Starlight from changing his past, because every present I come to is worse than the last.
I honestly think that the first future was probably the worst, since Sequestria is pretty much at war, or with an evil dictator. As far as I can tell, as far as Chrysalis' future, it's not really a war, it's just more of a neighboring tribal kind of thing. And I really don't know what the hell Nightmare Moon's future is like. And speaking of the devil... I'm actually surprised to note that Nightmare Moon's glowing mane is actually surprisingly different.
Tell me how you came by this magic to travel through time. The princess asked you a question, and unless you want to end up in the dungeon, you'll tell her what she wants to know.
Oh. You know, I'm kind of surprised that in regards to these futures, nobody seems to question why Twilight is an alicorn. Like, yeah, I know that they basically serve Nightmare Moon, but I'm surprised that this future's Rainbow Dash is not questioning. Also, why do you have wings? Are you an alicorn as well? I'm surprised that she hasn't done that.
No one in my kingdom but me possess a magic powerful enough to change time. Your kingdom? Who else? Celestia, of course. My sister has been imprisoned in the moon for years.
And like I said, it kind of makes you wonder what she's been doing in the moon all these years. Has she just been playing Uno or Monopoly by herself all those years?
But it is no less fate that she has to be to. Now, reveal to me the source of this time magic.
But spoiler alert, it was all an elaborate plan for basically Twilight to basically destroy the Timberwolves and go back. Oh, I was gonna say, hey, before that Twilight actually does something right and actually crystallized Starlight first. Oh wait, the last review I said why couldn't she escape from her crystallization, but that's the other way around. But even if it did, apparently Starlight is so powerful that she... And thus they basically go through the same event as we basically see all the different possible futures. Like one future, we basically see Tarek destroying the world, which is honestly kind of the lamest future that we get so far. Oh, and we also get another meme where we face from Twilight. No, Starlight. We see a world where Discord wasn't reformed and basically it's kind of just having fun with it. It's even the world where Flim and Flam take over. So yes, basically Starlight and Twilight just keep messing around with the future and basically just keep changing the events. It's pretty much the equivalent of it. Oh, I'm pretty sure that Time Force is going to have an aneurysm when they find out that Tony's been messing with the space-time continuum. And obviously Time Force is going to have a major aneurysm over it. So finally, after God knows how many times, Starlight finally decides, oh yeah, maybe I should probably...
What you're doing goes way beyond Cutie Mark. Everything we do here in the past, even the smallest change, can snowball into an avalanche of trouble for the future. Oh, next I'm supposed to tell me that the fate of all of Equestria hangs in the balance. It does. Spare me your overblown ego.
Oh. Is it her ego or your ego?
No, friend. Not even Princess Twilight is that important. I don't know how important other world friendships are in the future, but I can show you what the world is like without mine.
Hey. So actually Twilight finally decides, oh yeah, maybe instead of just standing there, I can actually bring... And we basically see... nothing.
Where are we? The future, or rather, present. But there's nothing here. I wish I could say I was surprised, but every world has come back and is worse than the last.
Like I keep saying, I think the first one's probably the world, and it doesn't really go into much detail for the previous three. Again, thanks to your time travel shenanigans, Starlight, you're most likely going to get Time Force a huge aneurysm.
I don't know why my friends and I are so important to Equestria, but we are. I don't believe you.
How can you say you don't believe her? Look around, you dumbass. There's nothing. Hey, I'm pretty sure there's no pony alive, I'm assuming, in this future. Since there's nothing, I'm pretty sure that means no creatures at all exist.
Even the tiniest act, what you're doing means here. I know I can't stop you, but I thought showing you this might change your mind. Change my mind? You didn't know anything about me. I was perfectly happy before you, and your brat ruined what I built.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. Basically ruling over a village as basically a dictator is not really a good thing. I'm surprised that you just kind of live in your own little world. Like, I'm serious, like, even when you show her that all of space and time is bent over the hell, basically dropping dead at your fingertips, she's still in denial about it. It really amazes me about this. Like, you can basically show her the end of time, and she basically talks about, I'm just, wow. I never thought I would see a villain this stubborn.
Mighty my ass. That's just a crooked country made by a crook.
I agree, Ryuji.
I don't know what happened if I didn't make your village without Cutie Mark. I'm sorry my friends and I had to take it away. You want to know what's happening to me?
Well, actually, just kind of been wondering, why the hell are you this so hell-bent on basically causing the end of the end of the space-time continuum, like 13 and a half minutes in. And so finally we get Starlight's backstory at least.
Where are we? That map of yours is connected to every part of Equestria, and this part is my home.
Well, if it's connected to every part in your home, then why the fuck don't we know about this place?
Sunburst united everything together. In fact, I don't remember us ever being apart.
So yeah, so basically, I think he pretty much knows where this is going. Basically, Starlight's past includes basically being friends with a pony named Sunburst, who, by the way, we're actually going to be seeing in the next episode of next season, so yeah, that's pretty much a step in the right direction. I'm just like, wow. Anyways, you pretty much know where this is going. So basically, Sunburst discovers his talent and basically earns his Cutie Mark.
And just like that, my friend is gone. His family recognized his magical talent and sent him off to Canterlot. I never saw him again. Why not? Because of his Cutie Mark. He got his, and I didn't.
Well, if you didn't get yours, then how did you eventually get... Well, you got his, and how did you eventually get yours?
He moved on, and I did. I stayed here and never made another friend because I was too afraid another Cutie Mark would take them away too.
Well, to be fair, in fairness, I will say that basically being in fear of losing a friend for them being recognized as someone special is definitely hard to look past. At the same time, some people like the Fiery Joker have pointed out that Apple Bloom has kind of been through a similar scenario, of which her first friend Twist got her mark and dealt with a similar sort of scenario, but she eventually got along along with Scootaloo and Sweetie Belle, so I really don't know where the argument for there is. That being said, it still pretty much doesn't excuse you of taking the talents away from other ponies and claim to be their friend and becoming a dictatorship. I know I've used this part in the last review, but it bears repeating.
You're so full of shit. I'm not dying so you can have a freaking nightlife.
Yeah, so it's kind of hard to basically... Because part of me wants to sympathize with Starlight, despite the fact that this sort of routine has been repeated with Apple Bloom way back in Season 1, but, well, and I say partly because considering that after Season 1, Apple Bloom has never spoken to Twist ever again, and it's pretty much been shoved to the side. Right. But at the same time, it really kind of doesn't excuse her of the fact that basically, oh yeah, you still enslaved an entire village. You still enslaved an entire village. Yeah, so it's kind of hard to sympathize with you when you did something that you can't take back.
That's ridiculous. A Cutie Mark can't take your friends away. Not every pony's lucky enough to get her Cutie Mark at the same time as her friend.
I'm pretty sure that... Well, why not? Ask Cutie Mark Crusaders. They basically got their Cutie Marks at the same time. Oh yeah, and speaking of that episode, still no update on the copyright.
You don't know what the friends get the Cutie Mark. But once I stop the rainbow, you will.
And still cause the space-time continuum to bend over.
Nobody wants anything like that. It's just you, dumbass. I destroyed this world. There'll be no way for you to change it.
So then how will you stop it? I'm sorry, but again, it's a little hard to sympathize with Starlight, which, again, I can partly sympathize with her, but at the same time, it still doesn't excuse what you did, and she's still hell-bent on basically ruining the space-time continuum, which, again, Time Force is going to have a huge aneurysm over that. But I think Naruto pretty much said it best.
People can't live alone. If you give in and sever your ties to human society, it will naturally become hard to live in it. Yet you refuse to face life and admit your faults, running from your own humanity like a coward. And though you claim to find life troublesome, you cause nothing but trouble for many others. Your twisted logic is that of an immature, egotistic brat.
Words couldn't be more true.
Starlight, you're right. I don't know what you went through, but I do know you can't do this. I've seen where this leads, and so have you.
I only saw what you showed me. Who knows what'll really happen?
We've seen that plenty of times, and you basically saw that it basically leads to nothing. Even with your dictatorship, you don't get your village back in the future you saw. Again.
Favored by the world, my ass. I'm gonna say it flat out. You're just a worthless criminal.
I've seen it a dozen times. Things don't turn out well in Equestria without my friends.
Ugh, but so special about your friend. How can a group of ponies that are so different be so important?
The differences between me and my friends are the very things that make our friendship strong.
I thought it was my first and I was safe. Because we turned out different, and it tore our friendship apart.
So try again. Make new friends. And if something that you can't control happens that changes things, work through it together. That's what friendship is. And it's not just my friendships that are important to Equestria. Every pony's are. When yours ended, it led up here. But just imagine all the others that are out there waiting for you if you just give them a chance.
How do I know they won't all end the same way?
I guess it's up to you to make sure they don't.
So eventually, Starlight actually does give in and basically not rip up the scroll. Alright, well, that basically took God knows how long of convincing, but yeah. So, just to recap, trying to show her the error of her weight, basically dictating everybody to have the same Cutie Mark does nothing, showing her that the end of the frickin' space-time continuum does nothing, but a basic tech taught to suck everything over just does fine. I would complain about that, but then again, and spoilers, later seasons actually show her. So, yeah, even though that I, like many people in the fandom, were bothered by this sudden change of despite how difficult it was, Starlight did eventually grow on me, and we'll get to it when we get to next season. So the scroll basically gets sent back as the map basically decides, okay, I'm basically fed up with you guys. I'm sick and tired of you guys keep messing up the space-time continuum, so I'm just going to send the scroll back so that way, you dumbasses don't do this again.
Friendship? Shit. What in Equestria was that?
Is every pony okay? Did you do it again?
So while her friends are basically confused, Twilight explains to her friends what basically happened. Which, like I said before, this has been another season finale where the rest of the main six are pushed to the side, and Twilight basically has to do everything on her own.
I think it's more than that. Friendship connects all of Equestria, and undoing one group of friends made its magic less powerful.
I can't believe y'all managed to travel through time like that.
That Starlight must be pretty magical. She obviously has more talent for magic than almost any pony I've seen. My magic couldn't stop her. I had to convince her to stop on her own.
By basically telling her about Which, again, I'm not letting it go, basically telling her friendship's starting over instead of you basically caused the end of the world, pretty much.
Once I realized that, everything fell into place.
But if she's as powerful as all that, we can't just send her on her way, can we?
Actually, I kind of have something else in mind.
And thus we get basically what at the time, which as I said, since this finale, people have pretty much gotten used to it, but probably one of the most controversial things at the time of this episode.
I know there's no excuse for what I did, but I want you all to know that I'm ready for whatever punishment you think is fair. I've been thinking a lot about how badly equestrian fares without just one group of friends. Because even when one friendship dies, the results can be disastrous. I know firsthand how true that can be.
Question, could it be your... You know what, I'll drop it.
And that's why I've asked you here. If you're willing to learn, I'm willing to teach you what I know. You'll have the power to make Equestria an even better place. How do I start? Starting is easy. All you have to do is make a friend. And you've got steps of them right here.
Now, like I said, this was probably one of the most controversial things at the time this episode came out, and to be fair, a lot of the stuff that Starlight did with both the finale and the premiere of the season were pretty kind of hard to ignore, as I've pretty much kind of been pointing out so far. But I think as the show came through with season 6, 7, and 8, and literally next season we're actually going to see better changes, Starlight actually has grown on me, and I'm pretty sure has grown on the fandom for quite some time. But as I said, because of how controversial it was at the time, it was hard to pretty much accept at the main stakes of forgiving Starlight so easily. Like, it was pretty much going to be like Trixie and Magic Duel all over again. But at the time, I was willing to forgive Starlight because of what she went through despite the dictatorship behavior. And no, I wasn't going to get over Trixie's apology, and I still haven't, and for those who continue to defend Magic Duel. And thus we get our obligatory season finale song, which I'm kind of surprised it was like this long till we do it, but it basically kind of shows that Starlight was accepted by the main six. It's going back to her village, and they basically forgive her, and everybody lives happily ever after, and that was Cutie Re-Mark. And it was a decent episode. I mean, yeah, like I said, and a lot of the logic about Starlight wanting to get revenge and basically screwing things over at the space-time continuum was definitely something that was hard to ignore. But at the same time, it was surprisingly intense in all things considered. And it was nice to see all the possible outcomes that could lead to the future, even if some of it didn't really make a whole lot of sense. So there were basically a lot of elements I did like about the finale, but that being said, at the time it's really kind of hard to forgive Starlight for what she did. But like I said, after this finale, she's grown on me. And considering that at the time, Equestria Girls did the same thing with Sunset Shimmer, and they did the whole thing a lot better, as many people consider Sunset Shimmer to be the best girl of the Equestria Girls line. So while in show this hasn't been done before, or of reforming a villain, as for the whole Generation 4 thing, it was done better in Equestria Girls with Sunset. Okay. And I think because of those, while I think the finale is decent, I definitely can say that it is inferior to the masterpiece that is Twilight's Kingdom. But as a whole, is it really a bad episode? No, it just has some problems that just makes it far from perfect. It's not really the best finale, but I can guarantee it's not really the worst. So I think as a whole, because of kind of the things that just kind of contradicts itself, despite some of the great action, I think it just holds this part okay to roughly about a C+. averaging out the B- for part 1. I think it was actually a B I gave it, B or B-. But I think it's basically where the episode ends up. Probably about like a B. Overall, the finale is a B-. Alright. And with that, Season 5 is finally over. Hopefully next year and during the summer I can be able to pick up the slack and basically get through these reviews quicker so I can get all caught up before Season 9 ends. And considering there's a mini hiatus after Episode 13, I can definitely say that I got some catching up to do if I have the time for it. Alright, with all that said, I'm FlipCam Gamer. I will see you either in the next Let's Play or I will see you in Season 6. See ya.